Da, 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 da. Yo, we're doing it today, eh? We're still moving on to our classical deep dive. As you know, I'm curious about classical music, and I haven't heard really a whole lot. So now we're moving into Tchaikovsky with the Nutcracker. As you can tell, as we're singing it, I'm kind of aware, of songs, little parts of the Nutcracker, but have I actually listened to the whole Nutcracker? No. I was in the Nutcracker though. In grade 2 or grade 3? I don't remember, but we did a Nutcracker like fucking thing with the kiddos when I was one of the kiddos in school. I had a non. I don't think anyone had a speaking role. I don't recall. I very like loosely remember being on stage. What I do remember is beforehand going on stage, I was like really like someone waiting in the classroom had a DS, and I was like, oh, I didn't have a DS. I never had a DS actually when I was younger. I got a 3DS when I was in high school, I think maybe. But, anyways, we don't need to talk about all that stuff. What we're gonna talk about is the Nutcracker. So this is late 1800s. It's based off of Alexandre Dumas's short story. Uh, I need to read Alexandre. Or was it Alexandre Dumas? What's the book? Count of Monte Cristo. Apparently, it's one of the best books ever made. Never read it. I did watch the movie that they made, the French movie, a couple years ago, 2 years ago. I really liked that. Okay, we don't even need to talk about that. We're gonna listen to the Nutcracker. Lego. will say too. Actually, wait 1 second. I just forgot to even talk about so who's even doing this thing? Because we have it's the Kirov Orchestra and Valery Zhezhiev. I was only talking about Tchaikovsky there, so that's the orchestra, and then the conductor. Okay, and this was released in this recording or whatever was released in '98. And okay, so first off, good start. It's so fucking joyful, man. I mean, I feel like a lot of the classical music that I've been listening to so far has been like either trying to lean into some like moody epicness, or it's been like fucking hardcore. There were certainly moments in Dvorak that had its beauty to it, but certainly moments too that were intense. This so far is starting off like, hey. I guess the only other album to compare this one to when it comes to song lengths, though, because that's what I was thinking about, was kind of The Rite of Spring. But then again, The Rite of Spring was so short. It's like a half hour. This is like clocking in at like 80 minutes. You have like 24 songs, and they're all decent length. Some of them kind of lean into like 6 minutes, right? But it's cool. Like, I think I feel this way too because I just did the Steve Reich Music for 18 Musicians, and I just sat there fucking an hour, and now I'm gonna be pausing for 24 tracks. But good start. Okay, that went by really fast, that like 4-minute track. Like it transitioned to the next song and I was still kind of following that through line. Fuck, dude, I am really liking this so far. This is probably the easiest classical piece out of the I think this is number 6, is it? That I've done to get through. Easiest to get through so far, and it's just so bright, and all the little instruments are giving just this cute little fucking to it. Like it's, yeah, okay, let's continue on because I just heard the first second of this one and I already know what it is, baby. Since that track is so iconic, I wonder if they kind of like bring that back. I'm not sure, but oof, those 2 minutes, bro, I was gassed, man. I was like listening to a Pusha T song there. Okay, it's still hella upbeat. Like, it's still fucking just hitting ya. And honestly, to start this, like, I'm gonna call it an album because it's what I'm used to. But like, to start this sort of ballet, I guess. This is the thing that's interesting. Seeing this too. It's called Children's Galop and Entry of the Parents. Like, listening to this right now and like not knowing the backing of the ballet, like not seeing the ballet is interesting because I can tell listening to it, oh, this totally has like a visual piece attached to it. More so I feel this way than something like The Rite of Spring. When I did eventually watch, I think maybe after I uploaded the video, I don't know. I did watch The Rite of Spring, the ballet. And like that's just pretty like avant-garde, like pretty intense stuff, right? But listening to the music, I felt like more sucked into the music, not even really having to consider that. But with this, I'm like, shit, man, I feel like I'm missing out on context for sure. so now we get like this longer piece here. And okay, we're kind of leading into a little bit more moodier, and you know what I mean? It doesn't just pop out as like really bright stuff. Okay, so we're getting somewhere in this. Again, no context to the ballet really, but still very early on. Okay, we're kind of getting into like more drawn out moments, I think, musically here. Um, okay. Kind of getting into some sort of lighter stuff that I'm moving with. Okay. All right. I mean, we still got ways to go, man. I'm like, again, I'm still thinking about this in context of this whole 80-minute sort of piece, right? All right, let's continue on. three lengthy cuts we kind of get early on, that one's the peak for sure. I feel like there's a lot of different movements like within that emotively, and the epicness at the end. I really like that little really quiet part as well. The drums at the end too, very nice. I was just thinking too, is classical music like the hardest to record? Like, I wonder, or not just to record, but the producing, the mixing that kind of comes afterwards. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, all these different little moments that kind of come into the mix and where that's at. I feel like that level of complexity isn't always required for other forms of music. Always. I don't know. I'm just like, damn, bro, you got this here, you got this there, that here. All this stuff kind of it's like a fucking baking a cake, you know, and all the ingredients that come in. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this classical music fucking journey I've been on. Definitely my least favorite one so far, mostly because of that drum not being my favorite element. Or that fucking whip thing that comes in. What the heck? That scared me. Okay, I don't really have much like strong opinions or anything to say about that one. We have one song, like a good cut left of Act 1, so let's get into that. Okay, this is like another one of those like feels all over the place, sort of lengthier cuts as well. Can be, I would say this one's relatively quite light, I would say. Yeah, I wonder how this is ending out that act, because yeah, I don't know. The act, or this whole act, it starts out so happy, kind of gets into the like sort of quieter moments, and then we get a little bit more intense, and then we end, I'd say, more in that light affair again. What to expect of Act 2? The Nutcracker's coming in. Arrival of Nutcracker? Clacker. What the fuck? I don't even know what the Nutcracker's like role is in all this. Like, what does that mean? I guess it's just the toy, right? The toy cracks nuts. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, Act 2 starts off very lush, just, okay, we're getting back into some peaceful ass vibes. I'm all for that. very quickly, I'd say in Act 2, though, we're kind of getting like quite powerful with it. And you know what? We need it to be powerful when it's the arrival of fucking Nutcracker, okay? All right, man. We're about 60% through, but like half of the tracks, I suppose. A lot of like shorter cuts in this second half, I suppose, which I will be getting into in a moment. I'm going to take a break, man, because we still got a little ways to go with this album. Wow, I love that one. I liked the Spanish dance one before too. It's kind of cool, like all these songs in a row: Spanish, Arabian, Chinese, Russian dance. But that's probably one of my favorite ones on there for sure. Oh my god, I love it's so chill. Not too much going on there in comparison to a lot of these other songs throwing a lot at you, but it's very nice, like really tight too, like 3 minutes. Like it actually feels like a song on here as opposed to just a part of this bigger scope. Okay, those are a lot of fun, those tracks. The Chinese dance one seemed like familiar, but I wasn't really sure about that Russian dance one. Oh yeah, I've heard that shit before. Plenty of times. Okay, I've heard that as well too. That is also very familiar. So there's three sort of moments that have been like on this album so far where I'm like, yep, that Nutcracker, yes, I know what the deal is. Okay, I love that one, man. Very Dance of the Reed Pipes is what we are, I guess, getting there. Um, Act 2 so far is very chill, like very easy to get into as opposed to Act 1. Like Act 1 starts off, I'd say, the best out of everything so far, and then we kind of lean into some more like a not as light of a mood, I suppose, but okay, let's continue on. Okay, another quick, just very. This is like a very like triumphant sort of 2 minutes here. Very nice. I'm liking Act Two. I think a bit more. I think it's kind of grabbed onto me a lot easier. And now we have. So this is sort of like the last quarter um, of of this. So I'm wondering where this is going to take us. We got three lengthier cuts, some small little things in there. So I'm assuming the music's really going to take it to a swelling point. Okay, so from the last song that was kind of familiar to me, and like it's really like this one's very like just that. It's just really hidden with the emotions. Very good stuff to kind of end out this album, I would say. We still have a little bit left, but it's a very short amount left before the Nutcracker is over. But Act 2 is really strong, like really, really strong. Act 1 to me starts strong, and to get to the end of it probably has most of my least favorite stuff. But fuck, man, okay. Oh yeah, another song that I'm aware of, I'm familiar with. Okay. It still is like, right now it's like 16% of this I've definitely heard before. We have 2 songs left. I don't know what the deal will be with that, but again, still a lot that I am not familiar with. But man, the thing I'm liking about this compared to every other classical thing that I've listened to this channel, I will say Glassworks does have variety, but short, and you're kind of kept in a certain state of mind for a long time. This journey, different sort of moods or excitements can kind of come along the way. So I'm thinking this one might be my favorite so far. decent end out. Nothing that's really like shocking the senses, I think, for the final part when it comes into comparison to other parts of this this ballet that we have heard today. Do I like this? I do. I really like this. It's quite long, and that just goes into the element of, okay, how I'm feeling about this is, like, the re-listens are definitely going to be very important, because to really look back on every song is a little difficult to do right now. But I really like this. I'd give it, like, a range of an 8.5 to a 9.5 out of 10. I couldn't see it going lower than 8.5 for sure. That would be like the lowest I could give it right now, highest 9.5. I don't think I could give it a 10, but maybe if the experience of listening to this whole thing front to back really sells, then I don't know, man. This was the easiest sort of classical album I've been able to just dive into and fully enjoy. Barring still one I didn't do on this channel, the Symphony No. 3 by Grecki, still just doing something to me emotionally, just really doing something for me. This, on the other hand, it's just got a lot of flavor to it. When it comes to any classical music I've heard, like, this one is very colorful, very vibrant. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just trying to hit a lot of different notes. It's... yeah. And again, with something that like The Rite of Spring, I still feel like that one is really probably one of the most unique pieces I've listened to. Again, the thing with that one is it's just... I'm not going to come back to that because it's kind of scared the shit out of me. Whereas with this, it felt very warm and inviting. It had its different moods throughout, but the main consistent line was peace, joy. I guess maybe with it being Christmas related, you know. But okay, very nice. I will come back to it a few more times and kind of get a final opinion, but I will say this is worthwhile. I mean, who am I to say that? This fucking thing's been around for like 100+ years. People have already, made their mind up on that. But I'll be back. All right, let's talk about Tchaikovsky. If that's how you say it, the Nutcracker. I came back to this a few more times, and that final listen was solidified. This is up there. I think it has higher highs than Dvorak, but I think with this, sort of that middle half loses its consistency a little bit. Like, all my least faves are all at the end of the first act, kind of, which is slightly a shame, but what did I give it out of 10 in the video? I don't remember, but it's a 9 out of 10 now. It was very close to that 9.5, very close, but yeah, that was kind of the main crux. But I have a lot of fun with this one. It's got a lot of joyous moments, and this out of all the ones I've listened to is very cinematic. Like, I really feel like I'm listening to a story. Yeah, hell yeah. I'm very glad to have finally listened to the fucking Nutcracker in full. If there's anything else you want to see me react to, anything at all, you can put a comment down below. And thank you for watching. Peace.